Hello, everyone. Today I'm going to share a prophetic dream that I had during the early morning hours of May 8th. This is an urgent call for everyone to get right with the Almighty, because things in the world are about to get even more scary. I'm calling this the Hydra dream. The dream began with me driving to a grocery store with a mother and two young girls, who were about 12 and 14 years old. We went to a grocery store. Even though there were a lot of people in the store, everything seemed calm and orderly. The two girls wandered off to do their own thing. I didn't see them, but I sensed that they were in the dairy section. Suddenly, we heard a message over the store's intercom system. It was an alert saying, "The Hydra are here, but we're going to keep the checkouts open as long as possible." Somehow, everyone knew that the Hydra were aliens, and so there was a sense of urgency to hurry up and get what we came for. The mother gave me instructions. She told me to go get some all-purpose flour and the girls, and she was going to wait in line at the checkout. Because of all the panic in the store, I was having a hard time locating the baking area. Then I heard a noise that sounded like the alien from Predator. It was really creepy, and it was very loud. The aliens were just outside the store's entrance. Using my prophetic eyes, I could see through the walls. Although these aliens sounded like Predator, they looked like the aliens from Falling Skies, only their legs were a lot longer. They were about 50 feet tall and looked like giant alien praying mantises. After hearing and imagining these enormous monsters, I finally found the baking aisle. While standing at the beginning of the aisle, I looked down it and saw that the shelves were empty. No sugar, salt, cake mixes, or flour. I was stunned. Even though the shelves were bare, there were a lot of people still in the aisle. Then I turned my head to the immediate right and noticed that there was a whole section full of flour. I could tell by the Mylar packaging that this was the health food section. There were 3 different types of flour that I could choose from. Each had their own color: red, yellow, and a third color that I don't remember because I never picked that package up. At first, I picked up the red package. I noticed that it was almond flour, and I put it back down because the mother very specifically told me to get all-purpose flour. So I set it down and picked up the yellow packaging. All it said was flour. It didn't say all-purpose flour, and so I was a little confused. Just as I was about to reach for the third option, I heard screams coming from the front of the store, and I knew that the Hydra were breaking in, as they made their unique Predator sound. I quickly made the decision that plain flour was just going to have to be good enough. Then, telepathically, I took control of the store's intercom system and said, "Girls, this is Wendy. Get your asses on aisle 3 now." Within seconds of me saying this, I woke up to my 3 o'clock alarm. You might be thinking, what? Asses? This dream isn't from God. I promise you, it is from God. So many people want to judge something based on first impressions. They're not willing to dig deeper and find the truth. This dream is loaded with truth. In Hebrew, the spelling for a young female ass is the same spelling for a city. In the Old Testament, each city had its own king. Therefore, a city was a kingdom. And so the 2 teenage girls represent Judaism and Christianity. Each of these religions have their own pathway to salvation, but those pathways are closing. A new city, a third pathway to salvation, is being established, and clues about this pathway can be found on aisle 3. You see, the spiritual world is going through a transition. This transition is affecting the virtual reality that we all live in. The shepherd of the third path is the Holy Spirit. Once the transition is complete, the only way anyone is going to be saved is if they allow the Holy Spirit to guide them. The mother who told me to get the all-purpose flour and the girls represents the Holy Spirit, the Divine Mother. At first, it didn't look like there was any food on aisle 3. But then I saw the all-natural health food packaging to my immediate right. There are many different types of flours on the market. Nearly all flour on the market is heavily processed. Most is bleached, and some even have added ingredients to help them rise. Not to mention that most grains nowadays are genetically modified. These processed flours represent manipulated doctrine. The first flour I reached for had red packaging. Although this flour was all natural, it was not what the Mother, who represents the Holy Spirit, asked for. She wanted all-purpose flour. When I grabbed the yellow packaging, it just said flour. It wasn't specific, and I was confused if it was what the Mother wanted or not. It turns out plain flour is the same thing as all-purpose flour. My confusion shows that not everything in this emerging faith is figured out yet. When I spoke over the intercom saying, "Girls, this is Wendy. Get your asses on aisle 3 now," it was very symbolic. It represents the Holy Spirit calling out to the 2 spiritual kingdoms and telling them that it's time that they start the process of eliminating man-made, adulterated doctrines from their teachings. Now, let's talk about this giant alien called Hydra. In astronomy, the Hydra is the biggest constellation in the sky. It's a sea serpent. In mythology, the Hydra is a huge monster with multiple heads. The Greek hero Hercules fought the Hydra, and every time he cut off a head, 2 more grew back. The Hydra is known to be a sea serpent. In the natural world, a Hydra is a tiny little polyp. It reproduces by growing clones of itself. And these little boogers can live a long time. In the Bible, Revelation 13 talks about the beast that has several heads and crowns. This beast represents the embodiment of a collection of nations. It has the body of a leopard, the paws of a bear, and the teeth of a lion. And so the alien in my dream has a connection to the beast of Revelation 13, whose number is 666. This is the number of a man. Now, in my dream, the Hydra didn't look like a giant sea serpent, or sea polyps, or a leopard with lots of heads. It looked like a giant praying mantis, which resembles a locust. In Revelation chapter 9, we read that the gate of the bottomless pit is opened and releases the locust army and their king, the destroyer, Apollyon. Now, this locust army is a spiritual army, and it's been sent out to attack all those who do not have the seal of God on their foreheads. In my dream, the giant locust army, called Hydra, was destroying the store and attacking people. And there was a real sense of urgency. Boys and girls, it is time to stop listening to man-made doctrines. It's time to get your asses on aisle 3, now, and start allowing the Holy Spirit to lead you to truth. Like the Hydra, judgment is here, whether you're ready for it or not. So get ready. My name is Wendy, and you've been called out of darkness.